And just a
Parking lot.
Parking lot?
yeah, parking lot item to bring up,
After the budget season.
yeah, our nomination policy, just, I mean, we might decide not to change it, but as good a time as any to just review it and reflect on it.
While we're on the topic of parking lot items, that's the next item on the agenda. Does anybody need me to read it, or how do we want to proceed?
Let's just see if anything should be.
We can remove September 14th. Aldridge will give an update on municipal brokers.
That happened today.
So to let the rest of the board know, we did meet with a consulting company that handles benefits as well as compliance issues and things like that. And I would assume that after they've had a chance to review things, we may bring a recommendation back to the board. But is there anything you'd want to add, Dr. LaPlante?
Well, I think I'll add a little bit. I mean, we did meet with, see, what's his
Hayes
term?
Company.
Yeah, I know,
A
he's not a
benefit
broker,
consultant.
he's a consultant.
Yeah.
Consultant, you gotta get the word right. And the bottom line was, yes, there's a fee for it, but these people have the ability to go to all these insurance companies and whittle out details, and as they did for cottage, they went from a 34%.
Well, it was, we went double digits to single.
Yeah, I mean, it drastically cut the increase that year. And we're guessing that the cost might be somewhere around 2.5% of the premium. But if they can cut the cost by 5 or more percent, then it's all to the good. And they also are able, this coming year is going to be particularly difficult with all the mandates for reporting. What's the word for it?
Compliance.
Thank you. For being in compliance with all the federal mandates, and it's overwhelming. And I think that is part of what their service includes. So probably going to hear more about that when we get some pricing.
On this parking list, Sarah forwarded the goals to us and to Lori. November 9th.
November 9th item?
That's great,
And
top
the next
one.
one's been done.
Yeah, the first one can go out.
And Dr. LaPlante has been updating us on HB 7, so that one can get crossed off.
What about reaching out to neighboring schools? I know we had a meeting that had been canceled with BMU. Has there been any follow-up with that?
Yeah, have we been able to reschedule that at all, or the meeting with the principal staff superintendent at BMU?
I don't know, I wasn't involved with it, because I
Mr.
thought it was
Jones?
board chairs and principals,
Yeah,
not
well.
superintendent.
I know. Did anything on rescheduling with BMU?
No, when she canceled because the board chair from BMU couldn't make it, she said she'd be back in touch when she knew more. but I
And
haven't
she
heard
hasn't.
anything.
And in the meantime, the board chair resigned from that board, so.
Didn't know that, but.
Yeah, I mean, I went to see her, and that was what I got out of that. I'm like, whoa. I'll tell you what, I'll give them a call.
But we were also gonna reach out to other schools.
I had no luck with Bradford. I don't know if anybody else wants to give it a try.
Well, a couple people I've talked to, it seems like there's room to share something with them. Where we already bus, with Riverbend, we're already busing down there. There's definitely gotta be a way to potentially work something out, potentially. I mean, I don't know who,
Anybody have any links with Bradford folks? No?
we're about tapping into Mr. St. Pierre. He's must have a really good relationship with them, and he understands the Riverbend program and how it works with the Oxbow program. Maybe he has some suggestions, or could talk to somebody there to get the ball started. But I mean, we're all in a need to save money throughout all of our small districts, and I think that Bradford's no different Oxbow's no different, they're just, their dynamic of their board's a little bit, you know, it's harder for the, with their, you know, the way it's set up. But we all need to become more efficient, and I would not disregard them at all. I think we should be, you know, where we already do so much with them, we should really be trying to work something more into it.
So
We don't
have you
have-
reached out to the board chair? We said you had no luck.
Actually, I called down to the principal. Principal's secretary told me to call the superintendent's office. Superintendent's secretary sent me to the assistant superintendent. He never returned my call. So then I thought, well, I'll try the board chair. And the board chair didn't email or call return. I'm like, I got discouraged.
That is discouraging.
But, I mean, we shouldn't be just limiting ourselves to busing our kids, which, in my mind, that's a waste of the kids' time. We're in the world of the internet and all this, you know, we had said Lisbon, I mean, even if we're using video conferencing, Linwood offers some great classes. So, I mean, really, and Littleton is the other one.
Somebody was gonna reach out to Lisbon, but there's somebody.
When we reach out, what is our strategy? So what are we saying to these schools?
Well, I like the way you approach things.
I mean, I can get on the phone and I can call Lisbon and say, hey, you want to partner? But I feel like we need some sort of strategy when we go to them. I mean, what are we talking about here? Do we want to talk about virtual learning? Do we want to talk about in classroom learning? I feel like we need to come up with a strategy, decide who might be the best partner in that strategy, and then reach out. Instead of just everybody grabbing a school and reaching out, we don't know really what we're trying to connect with, what we're trying to partner with.
Well,
So-
except for we have no idea what they're gonna be, if they have no interest in doing anything different than what they're doing now, it doesn't, or, but I think if, you know, you can't just reach out and say, do you want to partner, but if you say, would you be interested in sharing classroom experiences, either virtually or in person in some way? Yes or no? If yes, let's get a meeting, you know, let's talk about what that might look like, if that's, whether the barriers, what, you know, if no, then we'll move on to another phone call.
So last year I met with Pierre Couture, who's with the superintendent of Lisbon, among other places, and another superintendent who, I know, the Littleton superintendent. Actually, we met over here in my office, and we talked about sharing resources and courses and teachers and whatever, and doing electronically over the net and this and that and the other thing. And so we decided the first step should be, let's survey the teachers at the high school level. That was a starting point, to see who would be interested in participating in some kind of an online experience with students from another school. So I developed a survey thing, a tool. It wasn't anything complicated, and I sent it up to Mr. Jones, and he circulated amongst the high school faculty. I still have them, and they all responded. We had, I think there were probably 15 or 20 teachers that said they would at least be interested to know more information on how it might work, and would be certainly willing to talk about it or hear about it before they have to commit to doing something.
Right.
And I was pleasantly surprised to see that many people that were willing to do it. And so I communicated to the other two superintendents. Well, they hadn't done a survey yet. They hadn't surveyed their staff, even though the day we met, they were going to do it. And they still haven't surveyed their staff, to the best of my knowledge. I've never heard back from them about this stuff. I think it's one of these kind of things that when you're face-to-face in a meeting, it's easy to say, well, you know, let's do this, let's do that. But then when you have to get down and do something and make it happen, people don't always follow through, and they haven't done that part yet. Now, I'm not pointing fingers at them saying they're terrible people. You know, life has a way of jumping up and getting in your face and saying, not right now, you're gonna do this instead. So I don't know, you know, where they are with those things, but I could certainly reach out to them and see if they're still interested and if they want to do a survey. Because what we talked about after having the survey is coordinating a meeting with our principals, high school principals, to start talking about needs. You know, what do you need, and who's got what, you know, if I need this and you've got it, maybe we can find a way to share it. If you don't have that conversation first, it's hard to, you know, hard to go anywhere. So I would say that's probably gonna be one, after they do this, it would be one of the next steps, pulling principals together. And then we talked about, you know, principals and maybe superintendents, maybe guidance counselors, looking at how do schedules mesh? How do we have the ability to do a little tweaking and make this work? So there's several steps to this that we talked about and identified. You just have to follow through and get it done, so.
An example.
I can make a note and reach out to the other
Can we put that on the parking
superintendents
lot?
and see if they're gonna do something.
Cool.
An example, and I haven't had a chance to look at this real thoroughly, but you all know that I'm a huge Running Start, East Start fan, out of White Mountain Community College. And just looking at this, Woodsville High School offers very different courses than Lisbon Regional. That, to me, is worthy of a phone call, that there's a partnership opportunity there, that students can come here and take Spanish 1, 2, pre-calc, and stats. Statistics, being able to take a college-level statistics class in high school is huge. Where Lisbon offers human biology, chemistry, college comp, and survey of American literature. So they're 4 very different classes, and that's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
So that's the type of strategy that I guess I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So how do we approach this? I mean,
Well, I can start with the superintendents and see if they think their boards are interested. Maybe we can have a regional board meeting, you know, host one and invite the board members from these other 2